The boating season in the Pacific Northwest can be kind of short. We have a lot of rain and clouds through probably at least 8 months of the year. So when spring comes, it's kind of a push to figure out whether you're going to work in the yard or whether you're going to get out on the boat. In this week's video, what we're looking at is what are some of the ways that we kind of find a little extra time to actually manage to get out on the boat and at the same time still manage to maintain the yard and the gardens. Since I do all of my own yard maintenance in the spring, we decided what we'd do is find equipment that would speed up the yard work. In other words, whatever we could do to save time working in the yard, it was that much more time we could use out on the boat. From hedge trimmers to pole pruners to lawn mowers, what we tried to do is make things easier for us because we're getting on in years and we don't want to spend all day working in the yard. And again, if there's only a handful of sunny days, we want to be out sailing. Along the lines of how we managed to get out and go sailing, one thing that plays a really big role is our John Deere here. This tractor, it's only got a 42-inch cutting deck. We do roughly 20,000 square feet of lawn in a little over an hour. And when traffic's bad, if I've got to make runs for last minute equipment, strangely, the Harley actually gets me through traffic to do some shopping and stuff much faster than a car will. Also, I find it easier to find parking places. Anyway. The drive up to Anacortes from Redmond can be typically an hour and 20 minutes, but if you go at the wrong time of the day, that trip can take 2 or 3 hours. So another way we save time is to make sure we drive to the boat at the best possible time. Okay, so this is us, just getting on board. Lots of stuff. We packed food for a week and a half, 2 weeks, at least 10 days. We're talking basically about how we manage to get out and find the time to go boating. And what we end up doing is, in this case, we actually came up here the night in advance. This way we've done the mileage. We're going to get as much as an extra day, at least another 24 hours on the boat. Making sure we make the current, at the ebb in the morning. So we're ready to go. We'll just spend the night on board as usual, and first thing tomorrow we'll unplug and take off shore power, get the mainsail cover off, cast off the lines, and we are ready to rock and roll. So in addition to coming up late at night, I also took the time to pull our mainsail cover off. I'll even connect the halyard and pull off the pedestal cover, make sure everything's kind of ready to go. So as we back up near Another way we save time by arriving at the boat the night before is that not only can we prep the boat so we're ready to leave the dock, but we also know exactly when and where we can catch the best currents. In these channels in the Pacific Northwest, you run anywhere from 2 to 4 knots typically of current, And if you're moving with it, if you imagine that you're moving maybe 6 knots at best through the water, if you're with the current, 3 knots average gives you 9 knots, but if you miss it and you're going against the current, then suddenly you're only going 3 knots, which means it takes 3 times as long to arrive at your destination.
I'm going to turn into the wind.
Yep.
See if we can run into that tanker.
Let's leave that reef end. Yeah, it's about 20,
I think so.
20 plus knots on that point where we're headed.
Okay.
It's a little different, isn't it? Sailing on a reefed main as we leave the harbor.
I'm going to turn downwind a bit.
Yeah. Give us about 200 feet clearance on that chain, the bow chain.
Here's another example of us using known current charts and current directions to make sure that we get basically an extra 6 hours of time.
This is the riptide we get, the north end of the channel here. You can see where it kind of starts just a little bit to the north of us. We're going to check and see how, with the north wind, we want to know how settled parts of Cypress Island are. This is Sinclair right here. We'll sail past basically the east coast of Cypress Island, just checking out the various beaches and, harbors and little gunk holes that you can get out of the weather. Just kind of show our viewers what it's all about. This is looking south, by the way. That's let's see, that's Fidalgo Island and Mount Erie in the distance. This is Sinclair Island to the north here. And the tall one, big ridge on top, that's Lummi Island. And in the background you'll see that's Mount Baker. So it's towhead right up there. I had the little one. We just sailed past Eagle, or Pelican Beach rather, on Cypress here. What we're looking at is, what does it look like with the north wind? Because the north wind is north wind is a little bit unusual at this wind speed, but it's blowing about 15 out there, but it's not too bad. Some of the channels, the thing about the islands is when you go through a channel, any constriction between two islands, you do get a kind of a Venturi effect where the wind will start coming in a little faster. Just a beautiful island here. We'll come around the corner and check out Eagle while we're at it. We're not even sure what these pocket beaches are actually called, but this is, again, the east side of Cypress today. Now the video obviously is all about how we managed to get out sailing, because finding the time is tough, but when we do get out, it's amazing the places we find. These little pocket beaches, for instance. Now I will say about 50 years ago, I was on a small 30-foot sailboat anchored off this pocket beach right here with 50-knot winds and 7-foot seas, and we dragged anchor, and we ended up doing multiple anchors and stern ties to the trees on the beach just to stay in one place. But that's kind of rare. We don't, Sherry and I don't end up in situations like that. We watch the weather, right, Sherry?
We sure do.
We've been there, done that, and after a while,
You get smart.
you just, you don't need it anymore, basically. So we love drifting along in it's kind of pretty much slack, but some of these channels, there's no such thing as slack. There are currents and counter currents, and what you'll end up with is the majority of water, the volume of water, will either head, in this case, north or south. It's either going to flood or ebb, but it doesn't do it 100%. So you may have 20% of the water moving the opposite direction that the 80% is moving. The beauty there is that you can find counter currents that you can ride, which I believe right now, in fact, I'm in a counter current. Once we get into the channel, this is Bellingham Channel out here, but once we hit Bellingham Channel, I'll have to unfurl the Jenny. We'll need a little more power because we'll probably be pushing against a flood. Now, as I was saying, we're going to actually check this out, and what's right ahead of us here is Eagle Harbor. We're looking for an available buoy. Wow. Even though we're just coming into Eagle Harbor, let me bring your attention to that big tanker coming up the channel right there. Those things are monstrous. Sometimes don't realize just how fast they move when they're in the distance. Also, you'll notice that guy is loaded down. He's already taken on fuel oil, I think. Those are oil tankers. Okay, getting back to Eagle Harbor here. We may have to do an about face if it looks like there's a buoy in there. But if not, we've got other places to be. And you'll notice that probably half of our forward motion is derived from, by the way, the buoys you're seeing in the distance, they're too shallow for us. We have to use one of the 3 outside buoys. And I'm already seeing one boat. Two boats.
Is that buoy?
That's a buoy.
That's our buoy.
Okay, we found our spot for the night, folks.
Let's get rocking.
All right, let's get rocking and rolling. Let me
Turn on the engine.
turn on the engine, get this, yeah, light the fires, kick the tires, whatever. Here we go. All right, let me swing around into the wind. Oh yeah, I gotta get a Allen wrench, yeah, get this thing fixed. So we went ahead and grabbed a spot at Eagle Harbor, and we'll just sit here for the day. Yesterday Fidalgo Island, today Cypress Island, and we'll just relax and enjoy ourselves until such time as we head back. Probably tomorrow we'll head back home, maybe tomorrow night. It's been especially fun because I left my cell phone at home, so I don't have to worry about taking calls or any of that stuff. It'll be a really relaxing couple of days here. Okay, first things first, of course, our cold beer. Yes, indeed. That's cold beer.
Jeez.
This is our buoy bouncer again.
which is kind of a funny thing, but
And that's a strawberry moon.
strawberry moon, yeah, it's supposed to be full. Interesting.
Looks full.
That's
Looks
nice.
like it
It's
has
kinda,
a cloud across it or something.
it does. I think it's a little cloudy over there. Cool. Oh, I'm gonna see if I can get the birds noise.
It's right there.
Check that out. So we're leaving Eagle Harbor on the east side of Cypress Island, heading south toward a place called Cypress Head, which is it's got a lot of pretty strong current that rips through there. I've seen it get over 4 knots. So we used to stay there a lot, you know, many years ago. like 50 years ago we used to stay there. Eagle Harbor and Pelican are just better, just more sheltered. The other thing about Cypress Head is there's a spit between the head and the island, the main part of the island, and there's an awful lot of wind that can whip through there if it's out of the south. And this is Cypress Head, and there's a little spit of land that connects it to the rest of Cypress Island. And I don't know if you can see in this view or not, but there are 3 mooring buoys. There's some campgrounds there. Again, all of this is Department of Natural Resources, that's DNR camping areas. The buoys are free of charge all along Cypress, so that's kind of nice. This has probably somewhere between a half a dozen and maybe a dozen campsites throughout the head there. Kind of a fun bunch of trails you can hike around too. You got to be careful, there's some steep drop-offs, but some beautiful views from there as well. These are the tidal currents that pretty much have to deal with out here. Let's see if I can get a better shot of them. It's running about 4.25 knots at points, but the average is only about 2.5 to 3 knots. And as you can see, it brings down a lot of debris. Some of the little whirlpools, they'll pick up little chunks of trees, branches, kelp. So this takes a little bit of steering. There's probably a 15+ foot log over there. But for the most part, it's, you know, you get used to this. You see the line up ahead where the wind and the current kind of equalize. We're still running basically at an idle because we're not in any hurry. There's no wind right here, we're just drifting. There's another log up ahead. And you can see that log is moving almost as fast as we are, and we're doing probably 3 knots, 3.5 knots. And before long we'll be out of the current. Right where the wind starts to affect the surface, that's where the current ends. By the way, it drops from about 50 feet to 200 feet underwater, and of course it's kind of like a waterfall. and that really speeds up some of the water, especially the surface water tends to pick up quite a bit there. And again, here's just some of the stuff we avoid. These are just known hazards to navigation. There have been boats that have been moving along a little bit faster than they should have, and they've hit these things and punctured holes. And you don't want a hole in the boat. See if I can get a porpoise that's been surfacing. There he goes. I'll probably have to zoom in on this thing, but they come up and feed during the tidal interchange, which is coming up in about an hour. Here's the south view of the Cypress Head. So we're just sailing along here, minding our own business, and we look over. We've been watching a tanker in the distance with a tug, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just out of the mist, comes this military boat. I wonder if it's US or Canadian.
You know, I was wondering if it was Canadian as well.
Yeah, it looks Canadian. 334. If you listen very carefully, you'll hear him talking about something. I'm joking. Half my family's Canadian, so I can do that. This is the tug that with the barge. We've been kind of paralleling his trip. We ended up crossing the other side of the channel, but he's actually going slightly slower than we are, about maybe quarter knot. So it's kind of interesting to watch his progress. Well, this is us coming back to our slip. Now there's still a bit of ebb current in here, you notice? Bit of a side wind here.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Please go ahead and like and subscribe if you want to keep seeing these videos. Appreciate all of you watching.